The dust storms had become so common that people stopped reacting to them. The world wasn't ending all at once. It was fading, crop by crop, field by field. In the middle of this slow collapse lived Cooper, a former pilot who had traded the sky for the soil because survival demanded it. He never forgot how it felt to sit in a cockpit or how clean the air seemed above the clouds. Now he woke every morning to grit in his throat and the threat of another harvest failure. He lived on a quiet farm with his father-in-law, Donald, and his two children, Tom and Murphy. Tom handled the practical parts of farm life, but Murph was different. She had a restless mind, always questioning, always looking past what was in front of her. Her teachers sometimes called her stubborn. Cooper called her curious. She believed the world still had answers waiting, even if most grown-ups had accepted the slow decline as permanent. One night, during a heavy storm, Murph ran into Cooper's room insisting that a ghost was trying to talk to her. She had always been comfortable with strange ideas, but this was more than imagination. Something in her room knocked books off the shelves and left repeated patterns in the dust. Cooper didn't believe in ghosts, but he trusted patterns. When the storm passed, he studied the strange lines with her. There was intention in them. Something was trying to communicate, not haunt. The pattern wasn't random. It mapped coordinates. Cooper followed the numbers because he couldn't ignore a mystery that precise. He and Murph drove out to the location, finding a hidden facility buried in the middle of nowhere. Armed security appeared from the shadows and dragged them inside. What looked at first like a military installation turned out to be something far stranger. Inside the base, scientists and engineers worked on machines unlike anything the world had seen in decades. They weren't fighting to save the Earth. They were preparing to leave it. The people running. The crew spent the first stretch of the journey settling into the silence of space. Cooper guided the ship confidently through the black, though inside he wrestled with the weight of the mission. Every quiet moment reminded him of the farm, of Murph standing in the doorway refusing to say goodbye. But there was no turning back. Humanity's future depended on what they found beyond Saturn. Romilly immersed himself in data, checking the systems again and again. Doyle reviewed mission protocols as though repetition could bring certainty. Amelia Brand worked with a calm focus, but Cooper noticed the tension behind her steady voice. Each of them carried a different fear, but they all shared the same purpose. After months of travel, Saturn rose in the distance like a massive golden world surrounded by rings that glowed in the ship's light. Even Cooper, who had seen the planet before from a pilot's seat, felt something shift in him. Behind those rings lay the gateway others had discovered decades earlier. They called it the wormhole, but it looked nothing like any natural phenomenon. It was a shimmering sphere, suspended in the void, its surface bending light in impossible ways. TARS monitored their approach while Cooper lined up the ship with the entry path. The closer they got, the more the wormhole distorted everything around it. Reflections twisted, and the fabric of space rippled like water touched by an unseen hand. Romilly clenched his jaw. Amelia kept her eyes fixed on the monitors. Cooper tightened his grip on the controls, steadying his breath. Crossing the threshold felt like falling into a mirrored tunnel. Light stretched, folded, and spiraled around them. Their voices trembled with distortion as gravity warped. Time itself felt loose, as if it were being pulled in several directions. Cooper reached out instinctively toward a strange surface forming near his hand. It looked like a pane of shimmering glass, and when his glove brushed against it, pulses of Li. The loss of time weighed on the entire crew, but no one carried it as heavily as Cooper. Every second they spent drifting between stars felt like another piece of his children's lives slipping through his fingers. He tried to stay focused on the mission, but the recordings from Earth replayed in the back of his mind. Tom had grown into a hardened farmer trying to keep his family alive. Murph, once a child begging him not to leave, was now a grown woman who spoke in clipped sentences and carried a bitterness she couldn't hide. The team gathered to decide their next step. Only two potential worlds remained, Dr. Mann's planet and Dr. Edmund's planet. Both had been part of the Lazarus mission sent years ago. Mann's transmissions were confident and hopeful. Edmund's data was less clear but pointed to a promising environment. They didn't have the fuel or time to explore both. Choosing the wrong world could doom the entire mission. Amelia argued passionately for Edmund's planet. She believed in the man behind the data. Cooper pushed back, convinced Mann's stronger signals meant stability. Romilly, exhausted from decades alone, struggled to weigh in. The disagreement grew sharp, and Cooper accused Amelia of letting personal feelings cloud her judgment. She admitted she cared for Edmonds but reminded them that science wasn't free of emotion. Hope was part of survival. After a long silence, Cooper made the call. They would go to Mann's world. The journey took them to a frozen wasteland suspended above a thick, clouded surface. It didn't look welcoming, but they wanted to believe that under the ice lay possibility. They landed near the signal beacon and found a lone capsule buried in snow. Inside it, curled in a frozen pod, was Dr. Mann. When his eyes opened, relief and disbelief fell across his face. He had expected to die there. Seeing a human face again broke something open inside him. Mann was charismatic, brilliant, and steady. He spoke about his research with confidence. The ship drifted toward Gargantua like a small piece of metal being pulled toward a giant magnet. The black hole dominated the sky, its glowing ring spinning with a slow, hypnotic swirl. Cooper had seen dangerous storms on Earth, but nothing compared to this. The pull of the black hole twisted light, time, and space. Every calculation had to be exact. One mistake and they would be crushed before they even reached the slingshot trajectory. Amelia understood the risk. She sat beside him with her jaw tight, watching the monitors. With Romilly gone and Mann's betrayal behind them, there was no room left for doubt. TARS prepared for a maneuver that most people would have dismissed as suicidal. The plan required dropping the weight of their ship by sacrificing modules. Cooper didn't mention it, but he knew what it meant. Someone would have to cut loose at the right moment. As they got closer, the ship shook under the growing gravitational strain. Cooper could feel the pressure in his chest. The closer they moved toward the black hole, the slower time became for them. Years would pass outside while they lived through minutes. Earth would age faster than they could imagine. Cooper quietly made his decision. Amelia would survive. She needed to reach Edmund's planet. Humanity still needed a world. He buzzed TARS on the comm. The robot understood instantly. When Amelia checked the systems and saw their trajectory shift, she realized something had changed. Cooper told her the truth. He was detaching their module to reduce the ship's mass, allowing her to reach Edmund's surface with the little fuel they had left. She tried to argue, but it was too late. The ship separated, and Cooper's module dropped toward the black hole while Amelia's shot forward on the correct course. Amelia watched him disappear into the light surrounding Gargantua. It was not the end she wanted, but she knew the choice had saved the mission. Alone now, she pressed on. Cooper's module spiraled into TH.